Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I froze my behind off I helped take out the trash this morning. I've told you I don't like unloading the dishwasher. I also hate taking the trash out, and when XRP finally takes off, I will have a button installed, and I will be able to push that button, and it will say take the trash out. It will either happen with computers, or it will be an indicator light that goes off in my son's room. I don't know how this is going to work, but in the mansion, there will be a button I push that says take the trash out. So if my wife says the trash needs to be taken out, I will push the button and it will be done. That'll be all I have to do. Okay, let's start off here. The markets have been showing a good bit of green the last 2 weeks, and so I'm wanting to kind of start off each show by at least showing you what's going on. XRP was just about touched 24 cents this morning, but other than that, it's really kind of flat. Okay, let's look at this. Now, I spoke with my father. He's the official father of the Digital Asset Investor program. I spoke with him on the phone this morning, and he was asking me a lot about the number of banks that Ripple works with and all of this type of thing. And it reminded me that XRP Arcade had a listing of the top 100 banks that are working with Ripple on some level. So I wanted to make my father and you all aware of this. If you go to xrparcade.com, and then where did I click? Right here, top 100 banks and Ripple. You can click on that, and then it shows you the Ripple's logo if that bank works with them, and you can also sort it. Like if you just want to see the banks that do work with Ripple, you can do like that. These are the top 100 banks in the world, I think, by total assets, and it shows here who's working with Ripple and what it is they're doing, whether it's a customer, a trial, or this or that. So you can see some of these big names: HSBC, Bank of America. I mean, a lot of big names: Banco Santander, Royal Bank of Canada. This is pretty big, but it's a really good information. XRParcade.com. Great website for a bunch of different info on XRP and Ripple. Next, from Michael at VAL5 Link. 4,000 lawyers at the SEC struggle to explain algorithms and keep up with crypto, says regulator. I wanted to read you part of this. This is a guy, Robert Jackson. He's an SEC commissioner, and he was being interviewed at some Israel Securities Authority conference. And his quote is this: in 20 years, we may need to be an agency of 2,000 lawyers and 2,000 programmers. Now, why would a guy at the SEC say that? The reason he would say that is because he knows digital assets are about to change the world. That's why he would say that. I know what it looks like when a human being commits fraud. It's a lot harder to detect when an algorithm defrauds the investor, but investors deserve no less protection simply because money is being moved around by an algorithm. So there you have it, folks. The SEC knows what's coming, and you should too. Okay, I wanted to play this video from you. This is from the World Economic Forum. It's Trump. Listen close.
We're continuing to work on things that you'll be hearing about in the near future, that even today, sitting here right now, you wouldn't believe it's possible, that we have found the answers. You'll be hearing about it, but we have found answers to things that people said would not be possible, certainly not in a very short period of time. But the wonders of the last century will pale in comparison to what today's young innovators will achieve, because they are doing things that nobody thought even feasible to begin. We continue to embrace technology, not to shun it. When people are free to innovate, millions will live longer, happier, healthier lives.
Well, I can tell you the first time I ever did a transfer, even with Bitcoin back in 2013, I knew instantly that something had just been come up with that was going to change the world. Because I did it on a Sunday night when all the banks were closed. I knew it instantly. And so what he's saying here, I'm not saying that he's talking about digital assets, but I think that that's part of what he's talking about. Okay, next from Sergeant Obi-Wan at Sergeant Obi-Wan. Let's see here. Man, somebody's out. There's a lady that's outside and she's pushing a baby in a stroller on, like, going on a walk, and it is freezing cold out there. Okay, all right, sorry, sidetrack. U.S. Fed is caught in a trap. If it tries to escape, all hell breaks loose. Now, I want to read a part of this article to you because I want a lot of people have forgotten, but remember, we went through 10 years of nothing but QE this, QE that, money printing to pump up these stock markets. We went through 10 years. What a lot of you may not remember is that in 2018, when Trump came in, they tried to do what he said. He was talking when he was running about how ridiculous all the money printing was and all that. And then when he came in, they tried to pull back on all of that. And when they tried, the stock markets tanked. And ever since then, Donald Trump's been doing the same thing that his predecessor did. And it's because ultimately this whole political game is about preserving their power. And that's the problem. Okay, so listen to this, because many of you may not remember. In the final months of 2018, when the Fed signaled it might increase the pace of normalizing U.S. monetary policy, markets imploded and the Fed was forced to halt its planned continued shrinking of its balance sheet and reduce interest rates rather than continue with its planned increases. The outworking of repo market malfunctioning and the Fed's response to it is another illustration of the trap central banks have created for themselves. They have left their unconventional policies in place for so long after the GFC, and their abnormal interventions have been of such magnitude that they have encouraged risk-taking and a buildup of financial leverage that inhibits their ability to normalize their policy settings without triggering destructive convulsions. There's too much debt, too much activity predicated on ultra-low interest rates, and too many asset values that have been inflated to allow the major central banks any real scope for withdrawing liquidity or raising rates. There's been debate about whether the Fed's repo market interventions represent a resumption of QE. The Fed denies it, but it certainly looks like QE has similar effects and has been embraced by investors as if it were QE4, or at least QE 3.5 and here to stay. The QE programs were designed to encourage risk, and that's what investors have been doing in spades, confident the Fed won't remove the punch bowl from the party while it is in swing because of the market meltdowns and wealth effects that it would generate. So, there you go, folks. We've said it for 2 years here. They're in a box and they can't get out of it. And unfortunately, at some point, they're going to be forced out of it and we're going to have a collapse. Brian Melancholy XRP sent me this. This was a tweet from Brad Garlinghouse today, or I think it was today or maybe last night. Yeah, today. Steve Mnuchin. Now, I want you to think, while I read this, I want you to think, if you're Brad Garlinghouse, you've copied Steve Mnuchin on this. How would you be so comfortable copying Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, in on this comment? Steve Mnuchin at the World Economic Forum 2020, when asked about cryptocurrencies, there are benefits to cross-border payment systems in lowering costs for consumers and businesses. We absolutely support companies working on this. Critical to apply this pragmatism to U.S. regulation. So, Brad Garlinghouse feels very comfortable copying him in on this, and XRP Crypto will kind of commented to this effect. Brad Garlinghouse telling us the U.S. government supports Ripple and XRP. That's exactly what I was thinking when I heard Brad Garlinghouse's comments, is that's just like saying, way to go, Steve. That's what I read into that. And then Ashish Burlow, I guess, was sitting there too. I wonder why he's allowed to be in the room. listening to Steve Mnuchin talk about tariffs, China, and what 2020 will mean for the global economy. So here's Steve Mnuchin, and Ashish Burla's right there. And remember, Ashish Burla is one of the OGs of Ripple. The crypto utility guy at Utility Guy 7 sent me this. This is anytime there's whale movement, I try to show it. This lone crypto whale just moved $445 million of Bitcoin. This is crazy. The crypto whale is flexing its muscle after sending $445 million. The lone whale moved 51,511 Bitcoin on Monday. The transaction fee cost I won't go into that, but it's basically amounts to 23 cents. According to the crypto tracker Blockstream, the fee would have been 16% lower if the sender had used the Bitcoin scaling solution known as SegWit, whatever. So anyway, bottom line is these markets really there's a feeling of everything being turned on, folks. X-Men XRP. Reserve Bank of India says crypto not banned. This is from what is this period? Economic Times on January 21st. RBI says crypto not banned, but don't bank on it. Yeah, whatever. I've said from the time that we were talking about potential bans in China and Russia and India, they're not banning anything. They're not going to be left behind on this thing. Not going to happen. Chinu Patel at Chinu Patel 29 sent me this from Ripple Panda XRP, who I met in Singapore. Great guy. After 15 years, bpost will not renew its contract with Western Union, which expires in mid-February, and will be collaborating with Ripple partner Ria Money Transfer, as Ria Money Transfer's rates are slightly more competitive. So there you go. Okay, now this is interesting, folks, because this affects everyone in digital assets. If that's what you believe, anyway, this is a tweet. It's a reply to another guy, but I want to show you this. This is a Bitcoin chart you're looking at from all the way back from 2011 through now. Okay, what they're showing is the Bitcoin halving. Remember, the third Bitcoin halving shows you right here is going to happen on May 14th. What's important is that you see what has happened after each Bitcoin halving. The first Bitcoin halving, November 28th of 2012, Bitcoin was at $12.22. 368 days after the halving, it went up 9,218% from $12.22 to $1,178. Now, what does the market do when Bitcoin goes up to this day? The whole market follows, folks. Now, let's look at what happened after the second Bitcoin halving. July 9th of 2016, Bitcoin was at $657. For 525 days after the halving, it went up 2,938% from $657 to $19,800. So you need to ask yourself, what happens after this halving? This is the reason this is part of the many reasons that everybody's saying that 2020 is the year of the digital asset. And that's just the speculation part of the market. It's not including what Ripple's working on, the utility for XRP. But you better believe if there's a year to be bullish, this is the year for many reasons. But this is just one. Okay, real XRP boy at boy_XRP sent this. Central didn't send this. I just saw that he had tweeted it. Central banks announced cooperation on digital currency. Now, this was summed up by Ripple or Rhythm Trader. Breaking. Central banks announce a group that will assess the what, why, and how of creating a CBDC themselves, including, and these are the banks involved, and just about every single one of these banks works with Ripple on some level. Bank of England, check. Bank of Canada, check. Bank of Japan, check. European Central Bank, check. Now, these I don't remember, but I know Bank of International Settlements, maybe. I don't remember these last three. But all of these are getting together so that they can start creating central bank digital currencies. How about that? I want to end this video with a quote. This is from the guy that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if those of you that don't know, it's a great book. You should all read it, especially you young people. This guy had a father who I think was poor, and then he had a stepfather who was rich. And he wrote a book where he tells you what he learned from the poor dad versus the rich dad. And this is one of the things. My poor dad said, I can't afford it. My rich dad said, never say those words. They kill your spirit. And this, to me, is a very great thing to read right here, because half of your life is about confidence, folks. And I've said this a lot on this channel before, but the way you approach everything in the way that you approach life should be a state of mind. The way that you approach things from a confidence standpoint. I've compared it to back when I was a kid. You never wanted to get in a fight with the guy who just wasn't going to quit. You don't want to fight the guy who it's either death or somebody gets knocked out. Those are the people you don't want to compete with. Well, it goes the same with anything. If you approach your life just from a refusal, I refuse to quit. I refuse to go down. And if I do go down, I get right back up. If you approach it from that kind of a standpoint, that's what I see when I see this. You don't ever say out loud, I can't afford this. No. Maybe I can't right now, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to put myself in a position where I can afford it. That's the way you approach life. It's 99. You've heard golfers. I think there's quotes by golfers. I don't know if it's Tiger Woods or whoever else, but golf is 99.9% mental. I've heard these kind of things before. Similar things from boxers. It's you against you. Do you have what it takes to stand in there and never give up? That's it. That's the essence of it. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button. And tell your friends and family that the poor dad said, I can't afford it, but the rich dad said, never say those words. They kill your spirit. Thank you for listening.